warning to all Project Zorgo members. We have been betrayed by one of our teammates. It has been brought to our attention that PZ1 has been helping Chad Wild Clay and Viquaint. Because of his act of treason, he is dishonorably discharged from Project Zorgo. As additional punishment, we will now reveal his true identity. Here is his face. His name is Daniel. If PZ1 makes any attempt to contact you, do not trust him and alert Project Zorgo immediately. Unfortunately, he has also changed the password to the Doomsday Date. He's encrypted the password into these symbols. Once we decipher these symbols, we'll be able to decode the password and reactivate the Doomsday Date. Always remember, Project Zorgo is watching. Greetings, citizens of the world. The drums echo in the distance once again, and the threat is all too familiar and real. The Ukraine continues to be a potentially explosive hotspot in a proxy war that threatens to escalate into a much broader conflict, posing a direct threat to every citizen of this planet. The United States, European Union, and Russia continue to play an extremely dangerous game, gambling with the lives of the Ukrainian people and ultimately the world. How many more people have to die? Enough is enough. These strategic war games need to cease. This isn't a game and there are no winners.
Ukraine still under attack tonight. Russian forces launching a full-scale invasion about 24 hours ago. More than 100 Ukrainian soldiers and civilians have been killed.
President Biden condemning Russia, saying Putin has chosen a premeditated that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the attack on state TV in Russia, claiming it's intended to protect civilians. During an emergency meeting, members of the United Nations Security Council pleaded for peace.
At the exact time as we are gathered in the council seeking peace, Putin delivered a message of
He made a decision for a special military operation in the Donbass.
So I call on every one of you to do everything possible to stop.
Russian troops have reportedly taken full control of the area around the Chernobyl nuclear power station, including the plant itself. That site just about 60 miles from Kyiv.
Давай, просто зажимай.
Пизда нахуй, блядь, ебашит, сука, нахуй.
Today, the U.S. sent in the cavalry. The 2nd Cavalry Regiment out of Vilsek, Germany, loaded up this morning bound for Romania, right along the Ukrainian border. Around 1,000 U.S. troops and columns of Stryker armored vehicles.
Москва. 200 метров. Ракетный катер. Россия. так от ми тут і живемо, блядь, на острові Зміїному.
Russian troops are closing in on the capital. Their military vehicles have been filmed entering the city. And in the last few hours, multiple explosions have been reported. Exact figures are unknown, but there are reports of large numbers of Ukrainian casualties, both military and civilian, since the invasion began, and of Russian military. Streams of people in cars and on foot have been crossing from Ukraine into Poland, Romania and Hungary. The UN Refugee Agency believes up to 5 million people may try to flee abroad.
The early sirens wailed in Ukraine's capital once more. But this was no rude awakening. No one had been able to sleep. The latest Russian bombardments had hit yet more homes. Injuring the very civilians the Kremlin promised had nothing to fear from what it calls a targeted attack on the Ukrainian military. President Putin urged the military he was attacking to turn on their own government.
I appeal to the servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine. Do not let neo-Nazis and Ukrainian ultra-nationalists use your children, wives and the elderly as human shields. Take power into your own hands.
It's now becoming clear we need to protect ourselves online. Governments and hackers can see and track all your personal data without you even knowing. Start protecting yourself with private internet access. Private internet access is the leading no-log VPN service with over 1 million active users, 30 million downloads, and it's even open source. Private internet access helps protect you from prying eyes you might not be aware of, and help you remain anonymous. Not only can a VPN help keep you safe, it can assist you in accessing things you might not normally have access to, including websites, Netflix, Hulu, you name it, by making it look like you're in another location. Private internet access is available on all devices. Get private internet access and become anonymous online. Click the link in the description to get your VPN risk-free and get an 83% off discount on us.
Ukraine is under attack on many fronts. In Mariupol, in the southeast, destruction. In Sumy, in the northeast, battles rage. And here in the capital, in circumstances still unclear, horror as a tank drives over a car. And this is a pivotal battleground, an airport northwest of Kyiv. Its fate could be vital to that of the whole country.
The Russian military has begun a brutal assault on the people of Ukraine. Without provocation, without justification, without necessity, this is a premeditated attack. Vladimir Putin has been planning this for months, as we've been saying all along. He moved more than 175,000 troops, military equipment and positions along the Ukrainian border. He moved blood supplies into position and built a field hospital, which tells you all you need to know about his intentions all along. He rejected every good faith effort the United States and our allies and partners made to address our mutual security concerns through dialogue to avoid needless conflict and avert human suffering. In the past week, we've seen shelling increase in the Donbass, a region in eastern Ukraine controlled by Russian-backed separatists. The Russian government has perpetrated cyber attacks against Ukraine. We saw a staged political theater in Moscow, outlandish and baseless claims that Ukraine was about to invade and launch a war against Russia, that Ukraine was prepared to use chemical weapons, that Ukraine committed a genocide without any evidence. We saw a flagrant violation of international law in attempting to unilaterally create two new so-called republics on sovereign Ukrainian territory. And at the very moment that the United Nations Security Council was meeting to stand up for Ukraine's sovereignty, to stave off invasion, Putin declared within moments, missile strikes began to fall on historic cities across Ukraine. Then came the air raids, followed by tanks and troops rolling in. We've been transparent with the world. We've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans and cyber attacks and false pretexts so that there could be no confusion or cover-up about what Putin was doing. Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. I want to be clear, the United States is not doing this alone. For months, we've been building a coalition of partners representing well more than half the global economy. 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, to amplify the joint impact of our response. I just spoke with the G7 leaders this morning, and we're in full and total agreement. We will limit Russia's ability to do business in dollars, euros, pounds, and yen to be part of the global economy. We'll limit their ability to do that. We're going to stunt the ability to finance and grow the Russian military. We're going to impose major, and we're going to impair their ability to compete in high-tech 21st century economy. We've already seen the impact of our actions on Russia's currency and the ruble, which early today hit its weakest level ever in history. The Russia stock market plunged today. The Russian government borrowing rate spiked by over 15%. In today's actions, we've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. And today, we're also blocking 4 more major banks. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen. This includes VTB, the second largest bank in Russia, which has $250 billion in assets. As promised, we're also adding the names to the list of Russian elites and their family members that we're sanctioning as well.